Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're taking a look at a Canon lens. Now, I do review a lot of Canon lenses. I'm very much into the Canon mirrorless RF mount system, be it the APS-C bodies such as the Canon R50, the R7. I'm actually filming a close-up shot on my Canon R7 with the full frame 35mm lens fitted to it. So I do use those cameras quite a bit, but I'm looking at today. It's an entry-level compact 24-50 lens for the full-frame bodies, and it's actually a really nice lens. Now, I kind of say this about so many lenses I review, but I can only say as I find, you know. And I'm using it on my Canon RP. Now, I wanted a nice compact lens, which was a zoom lens for my RP and my Canon R, because I've got, you know, various other lenses for the APS-C bodies, and they're nice and compact. But I wanted something when I do go out and about, not for doing anything special, but I wanted a nice compact lens I can put on my RP and not worry about it. Also, I was looking for a lens that had image stabilization in it, because the RP, although it's a really nice camera body with a nice sensor actually, in the past many people have criticised the sensor in the RP because of its dynamic range. I personally don't have any problems with its dynamic range with the RP, although, you know, other people's mileage will differ. I will put some images on my Flickr page, possibly my SmugMug site as well, as to the images of the RP, so you can take a look at them. Now, they will be with various lenses, but I'll also leave a link to the album of the Canon R 24-50, so you can, or RF 24-50, so you can see what the images are like off this lens used with my Canon RP. There isn't a great deal of images. I haven't had the lens long enough, but here it is. And as I say, the reason why I use it with the RP hasn't got image stabilization in the body, but this has got 4 stops of image stabilization in the lens. So I think that is really nice to have. Combined with a camera body that hasn't got image stabilization. That would be the same on the Canon R as well. That hasn't got image stabilization. And also the R8. Now, I believe this lens was introduced to complement the R8. It's sold as a kit. So the R8 and the RF 24-50 is sold as a kit. And, you know, it makes a nice combination. It's got an STM motor for focusing, so it's a silent motor and it's pretty snappy. Certainly fast enough for what I need. It would be fast enough for video. I can't see me using this lens in the studio here for video because of its aperture range, and I find that a bit limiting, but that's what's made the lens so compact. It's an f4.5-6.3, so 4.5 at its widest to 6.3, well, I wouldn't say telephoto end, but at its, well, more telephoto end. It's 24mm at its widest and 50mm at its telephoto end. So it's basically wide angle to standard. And that's a nice combination when you're going out taking photographs in the street or family or whatever. So, and it's a nice combination on the RP. It fits nice, it's nice and lightweight, so I can carry that around all day long without having any issue with, you know, fatigue, or I have problems with my wrist. I don't have any issues with, you know, with carrying that for any length of time. I will show you some images I've taken with it. There's not many. I'll show them to you on in OM1 Photo Raw in just a moment. But if we first of all look at the lens is of a compact design. Now, I will actually leave it on the camera body for now, so I'm not exposing the sensor to dust, as it were. Now, the lens does trombone as you move it in and out through the range. There's not a lot, but it does trombone a little bit there. And the only thing I find annoying with these lenses, as with so many manufacturers are doing it, you kind of have to turn the lens on in the first place to be able to use it. So that's in its standby state, and you see on the screen it says basically, you know, turn the lens on, rotate it to, you know, enable yourself to be able to use it. So that just rotates that way, and then you can actually use the lens. I mean, I can clearly see why they've done that, because that makes it nice and compact for travelling. So I can see why they've had to do that, but I just find that annoying because I forget. I take it out of the camera bag when I take some photographs and I realise I've got to turn it on. But other than that, nice construction. It isn't weather sealed, so don't expect any weather sealing with this lens, but you wouldn't really expect that with a lens at this price. It's a really, entry level price, so you wouldn't expect that. I certainly don't expect it. So there's no gaskets on the rear of the lens, but the rear, it's a plastic mount on the rear of the lens as well. So just be careful when you're taking it on and off your camera body. If you're doing it a lot of times, I guess there could be excessive wear build up on the mount of a lens, but not something that is going to really concern me, because I'm not using it professionally. It isn't really classified as a professional lens, predominantly because of the aperture range. You can get really lovely images with it though. You're not going to get immense bokeh, A, because it's a wide angle to standard lens, and B, the aperture range doesn't facilitate that. But if you can live with that, which I can, and I'm using it as a general purpose lens, I don't have an issue with that. So you've got your two switches on the side. You've got your image stabilization switch at the bottom there. That is great. I tend to keep it on all the time. I don't have any issues with that. I know in the old days you were meant to turn the image stabilization off if you was using it on a tripod. I've had no issues with it being left turned on. Certainly with my 35mm lens, that's got an image stabilization switch. I'm pretty sure I have forgotten to turn that off, but I don't think there'd be any issues with the image quality. And then the top switch is for setting your ring, whether it be set for focus, control ring, or manual focus, and then you just switch it over according to what you want to set that for. I always use it in control setting for control. I think I've got this on the RP set for exposure compensation, although I do tend to set it on the back of the camera body as well. But yeah, a great compact lens. Now I'll show you a comparison between why I chose this lens. I have also got the 15-30. It's a lot heavier lens. That has image stabilization as well, but that's a lot bigger. That's a lot bigger lens. You can see, well, maybe you can't see, maybe you can see, I don't know, but that's a much bigger lens, nowhere near so compact, and it doesn't go as far in, only goes up to 30mm, where this lens goes up to 50mm, but it's wider obviously at the wide end, so it's still a worthwhile lens keeping. And I've also got the 24-105 lens. Again, it's a much bigger lens, and look at that, wow. But quite often I don't want to be taking big cameras and big lenses out with me. If I've got anything specific to do, and I know I'd want a longer reach, I would take the 24-105, because that's going to give me a much longer reach, obviously double to what the 50 does. So and the settings on the side are pretty much identical, so it's in the same design as what the 24-50 is, but just much bigger. Now if we look at some of the images, now I will leave a link to these images on either my Flickr page or my SmugMug page, maybe both, I'm not sure yet. I've got them loaded in ON1 Photo Raw. I'm starting to use ON1 Photo Raw a lot now. I'm finding it a fantastic bit of software. I will leave a link in the description of this video where you can download a trial version of ON1 Photo Raw, and if you do decide you enjoy using it, use the code AVP Studios to get 20% off. That's a really big saving, so it's worth downloading the trial version. It's got your catalogue in. What I like about it, because of my poor eyesight, I can set the preferences to larger text. You can't do that in a lot of software. I find that, just that one thing alone, I find incredible. It's pretty fast. The keyboard shortcuts are pretty much the same as they are in Lightroom. It's got all the AI features you expect to find these days, and sky replacement and what have you. So yeah, it's a nifty bit of software. But yeah, this lens is really nice lens. As I say, hasn't got the widest of apertures. So if we look at this image, that is shot indoors. That's shot at f4.5. You can just see there, f4.5 ISO 500. So it's absolutely fine. So although it hasn't got a wide aperture, and you're not going to get that creamy bokeh, that creamy depth of field that you would with an f1.8 lens or even an f2.8 lens, it's still a very nice lens to take around with you. Now again, look at that there. I have managed to get the background out of focus because I've got the image quite close to the lens. So if you're doing those sort of shots, you can, and look at the sharpness, it's really good. And that was shot ISO 200 f6.3. So again, not the widest of apertures, but it's still thrown the background out of focus enough to separate the foreground from the background. So you have got that lovely separation between the foreground and the background. Worked a treat. It handles chromatic aberration fine. It's, you know, sharp. It's, you know, colours are good. So Canon have actually, you know, got a lens here that actually is a really, really nice travel lens. It's a really nice take anywhere, cheap travel lens. It probably isn't going to win any awards as such, but you know, it's a good quality lens, and I like it. I like it on my Canon RP because of its size. Now, I could go for something like an f2.8 lens or even an f4 lens, but those lenses are huge. You know, so much bigger and so much more costly. To get nice pictures, you know, pretty decent pictures at a compact size like this, I think this lens, you know, fits the bill nicely if you've got a Canon RP, R8, any of the full frame bodies, and particularly the ones that haven't got image stabilization. Now, this lens equally works fine on the Canon R50, the R7. I'm using the full frame lens on my R7 at the moment. On my R50, I've got the 18-45 kit lens fitted to it. But it'll work on this quite happily, but instead of being a 24-50, it's going to be something like a 38-80. So it's going to be, you know, slightly wide, well, more standard really, to short telephoto. So, you know, ideal. Again, not a great portrait lens because you can't get the aperture very wide, but it'll still be a great standard lens to use on something like the Canon R50. Again, because the R50 has no image stabilization, it may be a worthwhile, you know, investment if you have both. I have both, so I could take out my R50 and my RP in one small camera bag, a couple of small lenses, and I can interchange them if I need to, if I'm using full frame lenses with both cameras. Because I tend to keep the 16mm full frame lens on my R50. So if I went out with that and the 24-50, I can just swap them around and as I need to. So it's great flexibility as well as getting great results. That is the Canon RF 24-50 STM lens, and as I say, it's an f4.5-6.3, so not the widest of apertures. So, you know, I hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button if you like the content of my videos. We'd really, really appreciate that. And stay tuned for more videos related to video photography, podcasting, so on and so forth. Cheers for now. Bye.